Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Blackbull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Blackbull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Blackbull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. Hey, if you like futures because of the tight spreads and clear setups, go check out Blue Guardian Futures. They let you start trading futures with up to $450k in funding. The best part, you keep 100% of your first 15k in profits, then 90% after that. No activation fees, weekly payouts, and they're sponsoring Chris Eubank Jr. and Birmingham City FC. Go take a look at blueguardianfutures.com or click the link in the description.
What's going on, y'all? It is Brinks Trades coming to you live with another week of breakdowns. Hope everybody's having a great week. Hope everybody had a great trading week this past week. I'm trying to figure out if I can put the boom. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. The little thing above me, so we can get all that sponsor stuff good to go. Again, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Brinks Trades, aka Blake, aka the indices analyst for the Trading Nut podcast. Every week I come on here and break down trades for you guys, basically market projections of where I think the market's going to go this week, this upcoming week, talk about what it did last week, right? And then, kind of answering questions, right? So again, a little bit about me. You guys know this now if you guys have been on here for a while, but I've been a day trader for about a decade. Started trading back in 2015, March of 2015. So it's been a decade and 2 months, right? And so I got this famous story where I told everybody that my first week trading, I studied for a month and a half and went live, turned $300 into $1,000 that first in 3 days, and then blew it all by that Friday, right? And so ever since then, I got hooked on the markets, right? And so it's been this up and down journey to figure out, my strategy, how I see the markets, and really make myself a trader that can really be profitable, right? And so throughout the journey, started in Forex, made the transition to futures a couple of years ago when the whole thing went down with the MetaTrader 4 fiasco. And it's been an amazing journey. And, it's been one that, reaching profitability has not been, it wasn't an easy task, but when I got there, it's something that it changes your life, right? It changes the way you see things. And obviously, there's so much opportunity in this industry. And so again, one of the things that I try to do is just be an authentic light in the trading space, right? And basically just show my story, but then also let people know what a realistic expectation of trading looks like, and a realistic, something that's not flashy, right? It's like, this is an actual job. Maybe you have a personal account, maybe using funded accounts, whatever, but really show people what this looks like on a day in and day out basis. And so that's what I've been doing for a while, and hopefully you guys can resonate with that. So let's go ahead and get into the charts. So again, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, my paper trading account is up. Cool. Thought I was logged into my live account, y'all. I do not want to show those details off for the world. But yeah, so every day, every week I come in here and break charts down again for the indices, and then just some basic currency ones that everybody knows about, right? So just to kind of get my thought process in the market. So we had a crazy week last week. And so again, I do this publicly so you guys can go back, each week, right? I've been doing this for 2 years in the charts. So it's a 2-year public track record, either on my social media or if you're on the Trading Nut podcast social media, you can go on there and look at the actual, stuff that I call out, right? And if I'm being consistent week to week, am I hiding stuff, right? Like, you'll see it week in and week out. So coming in this week, right? There was a couple things that I wanted to see play out. I told everybody going into last week, I wanted to see the market. If we go back 1 week on a weekly time frame, I wanted to see the market respect this old inverted fair value gap here, right? And then start to drop over this next week. And that's exactly what happened this past week. This was pretty much called out to a T. We respected this imbalance here, even slightly retested this inverted fair value gap that's right here, right? There's a lot of overlapping stuff, but then pretty much gave up the ghost going into this week. And so this week, it's a very easy call on a lot of assets. So I'm gonna jump down and kind of play this out and show you guys how this played out over the past couple of days on dollar. And we'll do this for each chart that we talk about and break down this week. But really, just right off the bat, it was 5 days of pretty much just drop, right? And this is basically lining up what we wanted to see. Again, I wanted to see that originally the market retest the zone and drop. It didn't quite do that, but then obviously, your projections might not always be 100% day-to-day accurate, but week in and week out, you can start to see the trend, right? So this is exactly what we wanted to see over the past few weeks. Boom. And we're looking for the market to really take these lows as our target. So for this week, I'm looking to continue on with our overall projection, our overall bias, right? I want to see the market hit 97.65 and start to go lower. So again, if you're trading dollar, this obviously sets the overarching idea or strategy or outlook for each of the individual currency pairs we talk about, as well as indices, right? So we know that dollar has an inverse relationship with the currencies. It also has an inverse relationship with indices. So this just helps set what we want to see. So let's go ahead and go to euro, right? And look at what we wanted to see again coming into this week. If we had a bearish bias on dollar, we wanted to see a bullish bias on currencies, right? And this is what we talked about last week. So coming into the week, we saw how the market respected this inverted this BSC fair value gap here, trading down into this wick, obviously respected consequent encroachment of that level, and we wanted to see this turn around and go higher, right? And that's exactly what we got here. So we saw the market come out. I wanted to see in an ideal scenario if we could take out that low and then turn around and go higher, I think is what I called out on the week. But we didn't quite get that, but we ended up shooting up nonetheless, right? Again, we're trading projections here. We might not always get the optimal pullback level, but the idea is that we want to see the market do this for the week, right? So again, this is basically what happened over the last few days. And we pretty much rose straight up, obviously, in respect of that. So what am I looking for this week, right? Well, we got about, if I look at this level here, which is that monthly high from the month of April, we've got about a 200-point range. And I'm looking to go long on this, right? Like I'm looking for opportunities to go long between this level and this level. If I can catch a cool swing trade, obviously, maybe it's something I will do, but I'm not a swing trader, right? And I'm really just asking myself, between this entry level and this target level, is there an opportunity for me to get long, right? And so this is what I want to see. Ideally, potentially, I want to see the market retest this order block here and then look to go along there. So that's what I'll be looking for this week. We've already kind of respected some of these levels too. So ideally, yeah, let me jump down to the hour time frame and see if I can get a more optimal entry. Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, maybe we sweep these lows of last week and then go higher. But I don't even think we'll get that. I think we'll just be looking for the market to continue to run up. There's been a lot of dancing around in this area to get to this level. So I would love to see the market as I even dive deeper. Yeah, I mean, most optimal level would be us taking back out this low of Friday and then go running up, but I don't even know if we'll get that low. So ideally, I want to see the market go higher. I'm very bullish on this. I think this is a very good setup for next week. So I'm going to be looking to see, and that's a 200-point run. Again, one standard lot is what? That's $1,000. Obviously do the math. 10 standard lots, 10 grand, whatever. So you hop over to StreamYard and see if there's any people here. What's going on, Cam? Hey, Cam, the man, the myth, the legend, man. That's shout out to Cam. Yeah, again, I usually do these a little bit earlier, but I wanted to make sure that I came on here this weekend. I know with the holiday weekend in the US, everybody is going to be a little, doing their own thing. But I had a crazy busy weekend this weekend, but I wanted to make sure I came on here and knock this out. So, let's see. So the next one that I want to see is, that's also a good thing to remember, that this weekend it's going to be a bank holiday in the US. So our Monday session, our our Monday New York session is probably going to be pretty dead, whether you're trading indices or uh, uh, currencies. So let's look at GBP because the other one that I want to take a look at. So GBP really, I mean, this was basically what we wanted to see when we called this out over the past few weeks, right? I made note that the market was going to trade back into this potential fair value gap. When we swept this high and really failed to go through here, we should probably be looking for the market to trade back into this gap. But when it trades here, we should be looking for bullish opportunities because this is a very bullish trend, right? Just because we swept this high, there was no weekly break in market structure. We didn't see anything that the market could really see to really break and go lower. We did have a daily break in structure, but a lot of times, and this is something I tell my students all the time, is that when you have a higher time frame pullback will always be a break of structure on a lower time frame, right? And so this pullback here back into this weekly, fair value gap was really just the market, breaking structure on the lower time frames and giving us this. It has to break structure on a lower time frame to give us a pullback on a higher time frame. It doesn't matter if it's a 4 hour and you're looking at the 15-minute or a 5-minute on a 30-second time frame, right? Like the higher time frame, if you see a higher time frame pullback, it is a lower time frame break structure. So what do I want to see on this? I mean, this shot up like crazy. I actually wish I was paying more attention to this one because I totally missed this. And I have a habit of focusing in on one chart when the other one moves more. And so I ended up taking 2 trades last week. I ended up taking NASDAQ and Euro, and I knocked both of those out of the park. I actually outlined that both trades live in front of my community on Discord. And so I try to go live at least 3 days a week, 2-3 days a week, looking for trade setups on Euro, GBP, the currency pairs, and then indices, right? Because obviously there's going to be a lot of volatility in those. And so I ended up calling out 2 on Euro and NASDAQ on different days this past week and knocking them out of the park. But I totally, I got ADHD focus issues, man. So I lock in on one chart. I always don't look at the other ones when I'm actually in the session. So once I decide on what I'm trading that day, I try not to look at multiple things and manage multiple moves at the same time. I just kind of pick the best setup for that day based on what I'm seeing. And so I saw Euro, but then I totally didn't even notice the GBP was taking off the way it did. And so from this low, I mean, we're talking like 300 points in like 4 days, or like a little over 4 days, like a week. But from here, yeah, 200 points in like three or 4 days. This entire week just moved a lot more than Euro did, even though it was the same bullish move, right? So either way, coming into this week, what do I want to see, right? I want to see potentially the market. It's pretty obvious that the market is not going lower at this point, right? We swept off of this high. We traded back into an area. We came back out and took out this high like crazy. So we pretty much told ourselves that we're not going to respect this level and reverse off of it, right? Which is kind of what we thought initially when this came back up here. I mean, we're talking like at the beginning of the month, right? This is like the end of April. So when this happened, I kind of figured we weren't going to majorly reverse off of this and start going, in a downtrending structure. But it just took a long time to sort out. Again, these weekly levels, when we're respecting weekly levels and weekly imbalances, right? This can take some time to play out because this is, I mean, on the weekly time frame, we're talking like 4 candles, right? But this is 4 weeks of price action. It does take time for these things to play out. So what am I looking for going into this week? Long story short, I want to see the market really spend the early parts of next week trading into this imbalance here, right? Obviously, by the time Monday's over, we'll have a fair value gap that's formed. I'm looking for the market to really trade into that so we can continue to go longer, or continue to go long, whatever. So this is what we're looking at, right? So ideally, Monday will give us the lower end of a fair value gap here. Again, Monday is also a bank holiday too, right? So in the US, so I would imagine that maybe we have a very, short, choppy London session. New York session pretty much is dead. Tuesday, we'll come back in and trade into whatever fair value gap is formed here, and then see the market run higher, right? And then so I'm really looking to go crazy on Tuesday. I don't think this NFP, there's no NFP this week. I also don't think there's an FOMC, right? So I imagine that we'll be trading into like later on, like for my students, I kind of highlight 3 days a week that I look for to be on trades. And we'll probably be trading towards the later half or the lower end, like later half of the week. So that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday, look to see the setup form. But I'm really looking to see where the high end of this fair value gap will form, and then look to go long here and there. So I'm going to make a note here on GBP and just say looking for fair value gap high end. Right. And what is this? Like 120 points, 100 points. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is going to be, I think this is going to be a really fun week coming up here. And again, it's something I tell my students all the time is that like these days right here, this week of this chop, these are account blowing conditions, right? These are the conditions where you can really blow your account. Obviously, we know what the bias is, right? We knew the bias was long this entire time. We knew even when we swept this high that we probably were going to come back in here and go higher. But these are choppy conditions. These are if you're not careful, you can take a loss, then you start tilting and you blow an account, right? These are the conditions that you need to really make sure that you're protecting yourself from, and be and making sure that you're obviously doing what you have to do with your risk, your mental, all those things. But these conditions that we're going to get the next couple of days, these expanding conditions, these are the fun ones to be in. So it's all about protecting yourself and your mental through these bad times, so you can get to the good times where you're going to have your account growing opportunities. So ideally that's what I want to see is this fair value gap on the high end. So let me go ahead and go to the next one. I know I spent enough time on this one. So let's look at some of these indices, right? So let's get the NASDAQ. This is the fun one. Apologize if y'all hear a dog in the background. I don't know what that is. So same scenario kind of here, right? So if we look at things in the weekly time frame on NASDAQ has been tricky. I'm not even gonna lie to you. If you are trading NASDAQ, just because all of the stuff that's going on with the tariffs and every time, a certain person tweets, there is momentum in the market. But I think we're starting to get back to where we were at. And, I think the markets are all just one big game, right? They're being manipulated all the time by entities, hedge funds, smart money, presidential tweets, right? Like anything that we can use to manipulate the market, right? So this has been a crazy 2024 so far, but I think we're finally getting back. So imagine if you bought the NASDAQ here, right? And your investment portfolios were going crazy. But let's look at what we were seeing so far. So last week on NASDAQ, we ended up getting pretty much a pullback, right? We traded back up into this SIBI here, this sell side imbalance. And not only did we that, but we almost respected consequent encroachment on the nose. So there's a couple levels here that I'm looking at a weekly time frame that we might come back and hit. And again, my whole thought process is when I'm looking at projections is really just what do I think the next 5 days of price action are going to give us. It's not really like a long-term month in and month out, because anything can happen, right? We can go through whatever we just went through with these tariff situations, we can do it again, right? And it could change a lot of things. So what I'm looking for on the weekly time frame is I see this fair value gap here. I'm gonna list it like this, but also since there's a volume imbalance here. So a volume imbalance is essentially, this is free game that I'm giving y'all. So a volume imbalance is just a gap between two candles, right? So we talk about volume imbalances. It's that, just to kind of denote those, I always kind of just drag my fair value gap a little bit lower. But there's this area here that I'm really interested in price hitting. Obviously next week, I would love to see us trade back into this range here, even if it's just briefly, and then start to show the market reject from this area. Maybe it's a 4 hour break of structure, maybe it's a daily break, whatever, right? I ultimately think we're going to be bullish through this, right? But I don't really want to, I'm not interested in buying until we get here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we came out Monday and really traded back into this range. If we look at the daily time frame, we're also kind of already trading into this gap. So I would love to see us really sweep the low of Friday right here, which makes the high end of this gap, and look for an opportunity to continue to go long. So that's what I'll be looking for on the 4 hour and daily time frames. Again, I mean, we're in on the 4 hour time frame, we're in a bearish structure. So, in order for us to really look to go long again, we need to see this break. So I'm really looking for short opportunities until we get down here. And then once we get here, then, I'll obviously start to either take my foot off the gas on any short positions and start to go long. So this gap really starts at 20,713 on the, well, this is the 4 hour time frame, but just in general, the level 20,721 really marks the high end of that weekly fair value gap. So as soon as we start trading this zone, I'm gonna really start looking for opportunities to go long, break some market structure on the 4 hour, etc. So that's what I'll be looking for. There, let's see. Oh, good here. Oh yeah. Looking at these comment section. Yep, holiday weekend. Yeah, see, and that's the thing I'd be forgetting is like, the U.S. holiday, typical American, right? Like we always think the world revolves around us. So we always think these holiday weekends, or everybody should know about them or all stuff like that, but whatever. But yeah, so but it's something that I'm definitely going to be paying attention for. So let's go ahead and go to ES, S&P. Let's see what's going on here. Right. So when we look at the ES, again, something very similar, right? So we have a zone that I'm interested in, which is a little bit narrower. It's the same zone, same area. If you can see that fair value gap, it's so narrow. I'm going to delete this and draw a new one. But it's so narrow from this level, that low. Well, actually, looking at 3 candle play from this low to this high. Actually, there's not even a gap. I'm tripping. I'm sorry. Again, you guys know that I do these calls in real time. I actually don't look at the markets before I get on these calls. The fair value gap would be from here to here. But this zone in general is just kind of an area of interest for me, this volume imbalance. I'm just going to mark this out like this. That zone right there. Oops. So basically the reason I'm interested in this area is because we closed here, we opened up here, we left a huge volume imbalance that we're really respecting. So I really want to see if the market can retest the zone one more time. Maybe even take things a little higher. We could take out last week's low. Coming back down, retesting that low one more time, and then taking things higher. If I jump to the daily time frame, I mean, there's starting to be a very strong sign of rejection from this area. The gap gets a little clearer on this time frame here. Again, you get variations of the same thing over and over again. So my fair value gap would be a 3 candle play from this low to this high. Right. But because you have this volume imbalance sitting here, you have that laying over there too. So I'll try to color coordinate everything. If you guys know me, then I try to make my BISIs green, my civvies red, and then just volume imbalances black or different colors to know what's going on. But there's a lot of liquidity in this area that I want to see the market retest. We already did here. See, we came back down to consequent encroachment of this range, and then went higher. So ideally, same thing here is what I'm looking for. Best case scenario. Always plot out the best case scenario and see if we get it. And then if we don't, then just try to adapt with the market that week. But I want to see the market really come back up to this high. I had marked out last week that I wanted to see the market, hit our first target and then really hit the second target, which was this overall swing high right here. I'm looking at the same thing, kind of an adjusted level here. So instead of it being this high, this is going to be the first area that I'm looking at, and then this area. But I want to see the market, see if the market will come out, swing last week's low, take that out, and then start running towards last week's high. Last week's high. Sorry. So that level here at the low end is 5,752.58, let's call it, and then 6,029. So again, I'm still bullish on this. I need to see like a very, very clean break in market structure, at least on the daily, before we start to really long term, over the next week or so, start to look bearish. 4-hour time frame is still bearish, but we had some rejections off of this level. And so I'd love to see, my biggest confirmation for this and NASDAQ is if we get this 4-hour to break and start going higher, right? This 1 hour is bearish, 4 hours bearish. But, once we start taking out this high, and I'll make a note here because I do this every week, right? I have kind of like a level that's like, once I break over this level, I'm really only looking for longs. And it'll be this swing high point here. Oops, my computer's glitching. Yeah, so let's say I'm long over this level here. And that's just kind of like my mental note of like when I'm actually trading, that once we take out this high, this is kind of a break in structure, at least where we're currently situated, right? That this is a comfortable break in structure level that I'll be looking for the market to run higher. So 5,893 is where I will be looking for this to go long. So that is the level that I want to see the market really run through. Obviously, if I see a break in market structure down here, then, on the smaller time frames, that 1 hour, that 15-minute, and something that's very convincing that we're going to form the low for the week, that's, I might look to take a position there. But this is really the key level, at least currently, where I would like to be long over, right? Anything over this area, I'm really looking for longs until we get to our take profit level. And if we don't ever get up there, then obviously I can't go long, right? So that's ES. Let's go to YM, and then I'll look at gold, call it a day, answer any questions that anybody has. This looks like very bearish, obviously, right? But we know daily time frame. Well, this one looks a little different. So let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit. This one's an actual break in market structure. So notice how all of these we traded back into those volume imbalances, those gaps in the market. I'm going to hop up to the weekly time frame and see what I see. Yeah, same thing here. We traded back into this overall volume imbalance. So I'm just going to mark this out on the daily. These are situations where it's like, the market kind of looks bearish, but you can't really call it just yet. So to kind of like take the lipstick off, or put some lipstick on this to kind of give some context, right? You see this area right here. This is our CIBI, right? That is our that's our area of interest, right? Obviously, this was a bearish market structure, right? We broke structure down here. We started transitioning back to a higher time frame. We've had a really hard time getting through this zone here. Notice how the market really ran up, retested consequent encroachment of this area, and really started rejecting from there. And then trading back into this overall volume imbalance, right? So this zone right here, again, I like to color coordinate things, so I'll make my volume imbalances black. We tested this area and then respected it, but that's kind of currently where we're sitting, right? So daily time frame would say this is a little bit different than ES and YM because this is a break in market structure. I don't really like this. I don't really like this for a couple of reasons. I know we traded back into this zone, but I don't like this because technically, unlike the other two, this was a break in structure, right? We take out that swing low. I guess technically we take out the swing low right there. That's technically a break in market structure. Again, your standard higher high, higher low, higher high, break in structure. I don't like that. So I when you look at NASDAQ, and again, when I'm comparing these, notice how NASDAQ didn't break structure. ES didn't break structure, right? I guess maybe technically you could look at that candle and say that, but I don't I would consider that a swing point that would cause, that we could look at as a break in structure. But if you look at the other ones, there wasn't really a clean break in structure, whereas this kind of did. Again, even this one's a little messy, but I would rule this out for next week for longs, only because I don't like that. Now, could this, and most likely will this, follow what NASDAQ and ES are doing if we think our bullish bias is correct? Yeah, it probably will. But it's just, again, I use these calls to kind of like look at my trading checklist and see like which charts I'm going to be more likely to want to look at. I already don't really look at EM or YM that much as it is. But I still need the same thing to happen, right? I still need a break in market structure at this level here at 42,177, right? And I'm just going to again make the note longs over this level. But I won't really be looking for anything and if you take a step back here, you can kind of see this is like a head and shoulders, right? So ideally, I still want this to be broken before I start to look to go long. I'm already kind of like, again, I don't really trade US30 as it is. This is me personally. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't. I trade NASDAQ and ES mostly when it comes to indices. But ideally, I'm really staying away from this until we get a bullish market structure. All of these I really will. I won't be looking for any long opportunities until then. Sorry, my charts just changed. So yeah, so that's what I'll be looking for in indices. But most likely, if I had to rank these, it'd probably be NASDAQ 1, ES 2, or US500. If you look at that, if you call it, if you're trading internationally, or YM or Dow Jones, right? Obviously, YM is the US30 or the Dow Jones. I'm not really interested in trading these until they get bullish market structure, at least going along on them. If a very clean short setup appears, then I probably will take it. But I don't like trading against the overall trend just yet. And on the daily and the weekly, we're still bullish. So I'm really should be looking for bullish opportunities. Let's look at gold really quickly, and then I'll hop off and give y'all a Saturday morning or Saturday evening and Sunday mornings back. It's 8 o'clock already here, which is crazy. PM. I know it's Sunday in Australia. Got to be right. I think, Cam. So this is gold. Is it kind of an easy call? This is very bullish. Just like, obviously this makes a lot of sense if you're a Forex trader. If you're a futures trader, right, we got XAU, USD, which is basically what gold is. So obviously this should be moving opposite of dollar, right? We talk about the currency relationship. So it should be moving in the same direction as Euro, GBP, etc. So when we talk about what we want to see on this is going to be very similar to what we want to see on Euro, right? So we have that all-time high that we're not all-time high, but we have this. I guess technically this is an all-time high in gold, right? Again, y'all know I'm not the gold trader, right? But yeah, I guess technically this is the all-time high in gold. So this is the high that I'll be looking at. This is actually probably a really easy call for next week. So I'll have this on my watch list. Jumping down to the daily, I want to see if we can get back to, if we can get back to this all-time high as like kind of like the final target. But I really will be watching how we evaluate I think it's the high of April, or I guess maybe this is the monthly high. Wednesday 7th. Yeah, I guess this is the high of the month. So I want to see if we can get back past the high of the month. This is going to be my target one. And I actually really like this setup. We obviously know that, in times of turbulence or times of uncertainty, gold really shoots higher, right? And we're not really out of nothing's really changed, from where we were at a couple of weeks ago or months ago, or, honestly, 6 months ago, at least this time being turbulent, right? We have a lot of tariff talks. We have a lot of uncertainty of what's going on. Again, anytime when the whole market can change off of one tweet, this has got to be times where they're kind of turbulent. So again, this is where I'm looking for the target. What am I looking for a pullback target this week? Well, there's a few levels that we could retest. We do have this daily order block right here. Order block. We do have this, if I zoom in, there's a couple of the levels here. The consequent encroachment of this wick. Look, I'll be looking at that to see if we can stay above that level. This should really be a fun week, I think. As I'm looking at this, I think this will be a really fun week. I could say that and be wrong, and then obviously, get killed next week. But I think this will be a fun one. So ideally, what do I want to see, man? I want to see the market see how it reacts to these levels here, at least in the daily time frame. So I'm gonna just say, like, I want to see this. Let's draw back into this order block here. And again, having this stuff drawn out kind of helps me direct my vision to where I want to see the market go. And it gives me a frame of reference. So when the market starts moving, I'm not just chasing whatever's going on, right? I'm really looking for this to play out. So that's what I want to see. So how do we retest this area? Do we respect consequent encroachment of this order block, right? Or this wick, or this order block level here? And then I guess technically the mean threshold of that order block too, but I'm not going to draw that out. So ideally, I will draw that out. There's 3 levels here. I'm going to just know all of these. I will know that this bullish trend is still good if we are respecting these 3 levels. So consequent encroachment, or I guess mean threshold, whatever you want to call it, but it's the 50% level, that order block, the high end, and then the wick of this, right? So I'm looking at all these levels here to see how the market reacts next week. As far as like fair value gaps go, there's one down here on the 4-hour. So maybe watch this zone right here. Just lines up here. I'm gonna look at this. Maybe it overlaps with this SPICY here, right? So maybe I'll be watching the high end of this gap to see, because I could see, like, if we're gonna go long, right, I could see like the market's really wanting to just, get short sellers off balance earlier in the week, and then coming back and retesting this. This area also lines up with what the high end of that daily order block. So like, I could definitely see a world where the market wants to come back into this range and really get people thinking that it's going to go short, right? And before it turns around, it goes long. So we'll see. But once we hit this zone and we start to see bullish signs, I'm really looking for how we react to these levels here. So yeah, so that's what I'll be looking for on gold. But I think that's might be the cleanest one here, to be honest with you, out of everything. So I'll really be looking gold this week. I'll be looking at euro. Euro should be pretty clean too. Honestly, now that I look at euro, if I go back to euro really quickly and kind of do the same level of analysis that I just did on that, I also want to mark the high end of this order block too. Right, so that area right there. Right, so just making sure that we are respecting that level there and the consequent encroachment of that zone, which lines up right there. Shoot, somewhere around there. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking for this week. I know that's a pretty thorough analysis, right? So when we talk about levels, again, this is what I'll be focusing on. Obviously, if we head to Forex Factory really quickly, I'm going to get off this real quick. I always say I'm going to take people through Forex Factory and then never do it. But Tuesday, a lot of NZD news, not going to really affect the dollar and us and trading euro and GBP. FOMC meetings minutes at 1 o'clock. That's not the same as FOMC, I believe. Yeah. Let me check that out. But just in case, yeah, it's the record of the most meet. It's not the same. So I might look at that. But I probably will be out during London session or during New York session by noon. And then going into 2 p.m., Governor Bailey, Bank of England speaks. This is basically like FOMC for the Bank of England. USD, there's 7:30 news, which is very rare. We barely ever get 7:30 news on Friday. So either way, I probably wouldn't be trading then anyway. So Tuesday through Thursday, it looks like there's relatively no crazy red folder news. So this could be a very clean week. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, but you guys found some value in this. If you guys have any questions, I got a couple minutes. I know it's really late in the US, but I got a couple minutes before I got to hop off. But hopefully you guys get some value out of that. So if there's any other charts you want me to look at, I'll do that. If there are anything else, let me know. Obviously, follow me on all social medias. I'm putting my camera down so I can get my social media on the screen. Follow me at Brinks Trades. Again, if you want to be a part of the free Discord, I'll drop a link here. You guys can check out my actual website. I have a website now because I'm fancy. But my website is called talentedtentrading.com. So I'll have a link to that. It's actually a link in my social media, but then also I'll drop a link right here so you guys can check that out. But basically, I'm doing a lot for my community this year, and there's a lot of things, a lot of value that I'm adding. And I want to be, I figured out how can I be the best mentor possible, and it's going to be, obviously a lot of hands-on with students and really crafting and making sure that their trading is really good for this, and I can't really do that without data. I know a lot of times, and I've been screaming this to my community for like the last few months, but I can't really be a good trader, a good mentor to people if I don't see exactly what's going on in their actual charts, right? And we can talk through and work through scenarios. So there's a lot of data that we're hopefully building with each trader when it comes to their own performance, and we can correct those things in real time. And so, I want my mentorship, my community, right, to be a the same way that hedge funds have support, right? The same way that hedge funds have, a team full of psychologists, risk managers, and all those things, right? To really craft those traders. That's the community that I'm building, right? With Talented 10th. And that's, I want every trader to walk away with a system of support that they can use to obviously be a trader, full time, or hit whatever their goals are with the trading, right? And so with that comes community, with that comes support, with that comes way more than just teaching people fundamentals on a chart. And I think, if you hear most people's problems when they're trading, it's not they don't understand a strategy. Everybody can understand how a fair value gap works, right? Everybody can understand what support and resistance is, supply and demand. It's not hard. Like what market structure is. It goes up, it forms a low. It goes up, it forms a low, right? Higher high, higher low, lower high. Like, these things are not hard concepts. But what's hard is to execute, because there's a lot of psychological factors that go into that, right? Or just not having edge in the markets, right? And understanding what you should be expecting on the charts and executing when you see those things. And so with that, a lot of my community moving forward is going to focus on that. We're going to teach the strategy, right? But we're also going to teach you guys what it takes to be successful and supporting you through these things, right? Because a lot of people I just find are making the same dumb mistakes over and over, year in and year out. I met a trader last week that he'd been trading for 8 years. And he's like, I just can't stop pushing the button when I lose. right? That's not a trading issue. That's a psychology issue, right? So how do we put the stuff in place to make sure that you don't blow up and make sure you maximize your trades, your winning days, and have, cut your losing days short, right? And so that's all a lot of the stuff that we're going to be having moving forward. So there's a lot of things that we're going to take advantage of for traders. So hopefully you guys see some value in this and you want to be a part of it. If not, cool, but definitely check out the website there. You guys can get a free join into the Discord, and so that is it's free value, so might as well take advantage of it, right? So if I had a free Discord I could have joined back in 2015, I'm sure if Cam's still on the call, he would have said the same thing. Like if we had all these resources were available when we first started trading, man, it probably would have cut the learning curve in half, right? So check that out. If you guys have any questions, let me know on social media or send me a DM. I'm a real person, so I got a real life, and I can obviously respond back and answer any questions you guys have. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll be on for a couple minutes, and if not, have a good weekend. Yeah, so the Discord is if you click on that link, Talented 10th Trading, right, it'll have a link to the Discord in there and you can join it from there. So click on the website, it'll take you to my homepage or landing page, and it'll say, I'll show you guys, I'll share my screen so you guys can see. Present, stop sharing, present, share screen, Talented 10th Trading. So right here, this is actually my site. So again, if you guys go to talentedtrading.com, you can see that. And then you can join the free Discord right here, right? So, or you can upgrade to the membership if you want to be part of it and everything that comes with that, But if you just want to poke your head in the community, and see what's going on in there, join the free Discord. Obviously, there's some of the members in there too, so you can see all that stuff too. But yeah, check that out and let me know if you have any questions. Sorry, I'm just poking my head around to see what's going on. Sherry says, what are your levels for NQ tomorrow? So I just covered those, but let me pull them back up for you real quick. Let me stop sharing. Sorry, if you guys notice when I do my streams, I'm never looking at the camera because I have a screen behind my computer, which is right here. So which is why it looks like I'm crazy looking at charts and stuff like that. So let me go back here. So my levels for NQ for next week, this is what I'm looking at. So obviously everything starts in the weekly time frame, right? That's how I do things. What's going on and what can we say about the next 5 days of price action? So at this point, right, we kind of bounced off a key level here, which is our weekly fair value gap right there. You see, we respected the consequent encroachment of this much on the dot. We traded a little bit above it, but then next week opened below it. So respecting it. So we're trading back into this area here of interest. This is a weekly fair value gap right here, but because there's a volume imbalance there, I like to drag and cover, right? Volume imbalance is just a gap between two candles. So with that being said, that is, the area that I want to see the market run to for this week and retest that area. So what does that look like on the daily time frame? Well, we have this very obvious low here. So I would love in a perfect world, right, for us to sweep last week's low. And I'm just make a note here. right? Last week's low lines up with the high end of that fair value gap, but I'm just going to make a note that says last week's low. You know, there's going to be a lot of liquidity that's sitting at that level. So I want to see the market take out that low and then go higher. I'm not fully convinced that this is a full breaking market structure that we're going to keep heading lower, right? We're still very much bullish based on what's happened. So what does that look for actionable trading? You know, I said on ES and YM that I had kind of like levels that I was looking for. I'm going to get rid of this so it doesn't show up. Text, visibility. I'm just going to say, let's get something daily. What am I looking for? Well, I want to see the market. I want to see if the market will hit, obviously take out last week's low, but I really will be starting to look for long opportunities over this high right here. So if we get, so let's just say long over this high. Does not mean I will not buy below this low, or if the market calls for it to sell, continue on with this 4-hour bearishness that we're getting. But I know once we get back over this high, I'm really only looking for longs. So really, you know, potentially there's opportunity to be short until we retake this level. If that doesn't happen and we just go straight up, then I'm looking for longs. But I can't really buy until the market really gives us a 4-hour breaking market structure, and really this is the safest level for that right there. You could make the argument that this level here at 21,260, 236 is a break in market structure. I wouldn't disagree with it, but just this is the very obvious swing high point. So I'm just going with that. So I'm long over this level here, right? If there is a break in market structure that occurs down here on the 4-hour or off the rejection of this retest, then cool, I'll look to take that too. But really, you know, again, I want to see the market, if best case scenario, we'll retest this low and then look to go long, right? We could see a scenario where the market doesn't even come down this low. It could just go straight up. We also could see just the market crash, right? But I'm looking for bullishness based on what's going on the bigger time frames, and because of that, I need to see something down here happen, or I need to see something back in this range. So otherwise, I'm just sitting flat. Oh shoot, you can't see my screen. Okay, damn, I was ready to log off, y'all. Let me see this. So again, let me do this one more time. I feel like once a week I get a blooper. So I think y'all should be able to see my chart now. So basically what I said was the market, you know, we traded back up into this civvy here. We respected consequent approach from that level. We traded back down here. This is a fair value gap here. I'm dragging and extending it because there's a volume imbalance right there. If you look there, there's a gap between two candles. It's called a volume imbalance. Normal fair value gap would look something like this, but because of that, I'm extending it just to account for that liquidity that hasn't been hit there. On the daily time frame, well, going back to the weekly time frame, we're bullish on this, right? But I want to see this reject away from here, this level here. I think it will. I think it'll at least retest this level, but I want to see it retest and reject to continue to go higher. If and when it does that, I'm really looking to go long, especially over that consequent encroachment level. But if I jump down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see it a little better that we're very much bearish. So that level there that I just called out, which is consequent encroachment of this daily fair value gap right there, would also be a break in market structure on that 4 hours. So it's just a safe level that if once we run this low, that once we get over this level, I'm looking for longs. Or if there is a break in market structure on the 4-hour down here. So let's say we do something like this. All right, we're forming lower lows, we do like this, whatever. And then we break structure down here like that, like where we take out that low or that high and we break structure down there. Then I'm looking to go long again. But in the meantime, based on current price action right now, I would love to see this swept. If we don't get that, if we don't come back down here, then I'm long over this level here, right? So that's what I'm looking for. I just see your handsome face. I appreciate the compliment. So hopefully you can see my charts now. So let me know if you you can see the charts. And if that makes sense. If not, let me know. And if not, if you are in the Discord, let me know, and we can, if it doesn't make sense and you just message me in the Discord. We can talk about it. I do a Sunday call with all my students, and that basically outlines again, some of the stuff they're struggling with, things that we can talk about for their development. So that's also something I can bring up in the call here in the chat, Sherry, or anybody really. So let me know if that makes sense. If you guys have any other questions, I hope you guys have a good trading week. I gotta log off, but again, find me in the Discord. Check out the website, talentedtenntrading.com, and yeah, hopefully you guys are part of what's going on. So it's gonna be a lot of crazy things going on for everybody that's in mentorship. So let me know if that helps, and yeah, catch y'all next week. Peace. Okay, so you said I can see the charts now. I'm an NQ addict. Yeah, no, definitely let me know if you should reach out to me on social. I do a lot of trading, especially this summer. I'm going to be trading more NQ. I told everybody that to kind of stay away from NQ. This because the past couple of months have just been crazy with tweets and everything like that. But I think the markets are starting to find some level of stability, at least for now. So if you can you trade those, and it should be a good move. So even with the live sessions, I'm going to be going back and trading live NASDAQ a lot this summer, just because currency markets, they tend to slow down in the summertime. So I still want something with a little bit of volatility. So I want to see what the markets are going to do on NASDAQ. So I'll be looking to trade a lot of that this summer. So but yeah, definitely find me on social, reach out, join the Discord, reach out to me for sure. So anyway, you guys have a good one. I'm gonna catch y'all next week, and yeah, peace. Happy trading.
Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. You've probably heard me talking about trading with confidence, and honestly, it's a lot easier when you're not risking your own money. That's why I wanted to mention Blue Guardian. They offer instant funding or a challenge to get you started, and up to $400K in funding, weekly payouts, and a 90% profit split, and they've already paid out over $15 million to traders around the world. Plus, they're sponsoring Birmingham City FC and Chris Eubank Jr., so they're serious about backing performance. Check them out at blueguardian.com or check the link in the description.